Welcome to G-Man Gaming and Reviews. Alright, so this is going to be a review of the game Blooby Block, which is a game that's being released tomorrow by an indie developer, Basement Fun Games. Now, this is a very interesting game. It's a cube-pushing game, like a mechanics game. The developer described it as... I'll just read that. So the developer described it as Blooby Block is a puzzle adventure game based on the classic box pushing concept found in Sokoban games. Don't quote me on the pronunciation of Sokoban. This game is a 3D evolution of the multi-level environment that offers new possibilities and increases the complexity of the puzzles. Also, the game has an arcade touch with enemies, traps, and spells. We can say that this game offers fresh puzzles with a high level of complexity. Sometimes it will be necessary to have skill and good timing. So that's the short description from the developer. So the game, as I said, Blooby Block, is being marketed as a cube pushing game. Now, it combines spells, traps, and enemies to sort of make it more than just a regular puzzle game, right? So because you've got sort of a live aspect to the game when you're playing it, so normally when you start, so at the very beginning of the game, the difficulty ramps up quite well. So the very first 10-20 levels are about introducing the mechanics of the game. And after the first 20 levels is when you start to get to the more complex levels where the difficulty ramps up. But I think that's a fair way of introducing the game, as it has very interesting mechanics. Now, so the game is going to be available on Steam and on the Android market. It's going to be released with a price of $4.99 US tomorrow with 120 levels. If there's interest in the game, the developer was saying that they're planning to release new DLC with 60 levels per DLC with new traps, spells, and enemies. So, I really like this game because it's a very sort of charming and campy game, essentially. This is a game that you play when you want to relax and unwind, in my opinion. It does have a live element to it, in the sense that you've got enemies that are moving around, but for the most part, when you start a level, what you'll normally be doing at the later levels is sort of planning your moves. Now, because of the way the cube mechanics work, so the cube mechanics work in sort of an interesting way. I'm not really that familiar with cube pushing games. This is probably the first one that I've come across, but it's interesting. So basically the way it works is, in order to move a cube, you need to have space in order to push the cube from behind, but you also have to push it into a place where there's no obstruction. Okay? An obstruction can be a level, a key, anything really. Okay? So because of that, it means that you've got to actually think out your moves, because a lot of the times with the cubes, you can end up in a position where you can't do anything more with the cube because of the position that it's in. That being said, the game has a handy reset button right on the UI, which resets it straight away. So it's very handy, and you will be using that in the later levels quite a bit. So yeah, it's actually going to be released with 120 levels. I got up to level 40. Oh boy, is that level difficult. Yeah, absolutely difficult. I was speaking to the developer, and the developer was telling me that level 40 is difficult. It's like, oh boy, is that difficult. I can definitely see how this game is gonna give you a lot of play value. I'd say replay value, but after you've played it, well, it does give you replay value because it's got a sort of arcade mechanic to it that the developer was talking about, where on every level, you've got 3 gems that you have to collect. You don't have to collect them, but they're sort of like, you know how you play mobile games and you try to up your score? It's essentially like that, right? So the aim of the game is really simply to get the key and exit the level, right? That's literally what you're supposed to do, right? But if you want to complete each level with a perfect score, you have to get all 3 gems. And that's where the game starts to become a lot more complex, when you want to get those 3 gems. as the game goes on from level 20 onwards, the mechanics become more and more interesting. You've sort of got to think your moves out in advance, especially with the cubes. Now, when I was speaking to the developer told me there's basically one solution per level. So it was very, very interesting. So basically, yes, that's pretty much the game in a nutshell. Now, the thing that I really, really like about this, apart from the gameplay as well, is the soundtrack, the sound effects, and the graphics are actually really, really good. I actually love the soundtrack. I've only played the soundtrack for the first section, right? There's three soundtracks that I've been told by the developer, right? For different sections. I think Grassland, Desert, and something else, I don't remember. But the soundtrack is really good. This is one of those soundtracks that I really, really hope the developer releases the soundtrack on its own, because I'd love to just listen to it on repeat. It's really, really awesome. So the sound effects and the graphics are really good, and they really bring home the campy aesthetic, and I really love the design of the main character, Block. The character's name is Block, so that's the main character. Yeah, so the soundtrack is awesome. Like I said, there's DLC planning to be released. Yeah, so if you're interested in an indie game with a lot of value, especially if you love like puzzle games, you're gonna really, really love this. The demo is available on Steam, so you can actually play the first 20 levels. So yeah, also, for the first 4 people to recommend reviews for me to do on YouTube or Twitter or on my website, the developer has graciously given me 4 product codes for the Android market for the game, because the game is also going to be released on the Android market. So this was G-Man Gaming and Reviews. This was our review of Bluebi Block. Thank you for everybody who watched it. If you'd like, please go buy the game, support an indie developer. And yes, this was G-Man Gaming and Reviews signing off. Right, thank you, bye.